welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Panin.
And I'm V-Fire.
And I'm David.
And we love you.
That's true. It's very true.
So just a few announcements before we get started. As always, please reach out to us. Our email is cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, or
you can go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, say that 5 times fast, and fill out the contact form. I am doing wonderful today. Fill out the contact form, or
go to our Facebook page and join our group. You can message us there, as well as join our Work in Progress Wednesdays. Share your fun stories or ask us questions. We're more than happy to help out, and our community is pretty awesome. But while you're on the internet, you can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever else. We'll accept it, and we will happily give you a shout out on the show. Also, our D&D Patreon exclusive content is going great. We've got a new stream coming up pretty soon as the time that we record this. Where can people go panning to go for there?
That's patreon.com/CosplayStitch. And remember, if you pick our $3 or $5 tiers, we give you a shout out on the show. We have a very special but a very special patron we'll be sharing at the end of the episode.
Yay!
Yay! And yeah, you can join us for our D&D adventures, Cosplay Chronicles, which is a very fun cosplay-centric D&D that David is DMing for us.
It's super fun.
We will still be releasing the audio of the episodes a month later, but you can see the episodes as they come out. You can actually live stream them with us and give us live commentary, share your thoughts on where you think the episode should go. We did some polls, didn't we, last time?
In the stream?
Yeah. Didn't we do some?
Yeah, we set it up. I set it up so that way, something could change based on where it was. And the audience in the chat was able to kind of work towards or against the group. And this time it was a random location that I decided. And I am thinking about okay, what do you guys want to fight next? Audience, let's hear it out. So
nice.
It'll be fun to see how that grows.
Yeah, so once again, you can join us for that at patreon.com/CosplayStitch. And all the funds from that go to help our website, our bandwidth costs, and all that fun stuff. So big thank you to those who have joined us. Anything else?
I think that's it.
I think we're good. So our topic today, I'm excited because I've been hoping we could cover this for a while, but we are going to talk about mascots, fursuits, and those sort of big builds. Today we have 2 special guests. We have Nerdy Hippie and Cassini Cosplay. Cassini, why don't you go first? Tell us about yourself.
Hello, I am known as Cassini Closet. You can find my works on Etsy. We have a little store. And we have videos up on YouTube and also on Facebook by the same name. We have combined efforts of cosplays with Nerdy Hippie as a Nerdy Closet, which is most likely our stage name. And also, did I mention DeviantArt?
You have now.
Not yet.
Okay. And been cosplaying for nearly a decade or more. And
nice.
Made about 10 or more personal suits and helped with a dozen others and got Nerdy into his cosplaying.
Oh, nice. So how about you, Nerdy? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Ohio, but I moved out here to Utah back in 2016. In fact, the end of the month will mark my 4th year here.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Well, welcome. Making it home. Nice.
Indeed.
He's registered.
Cool. So good. That's very important. I am so proud. So we're going to talk about construction first as far as fursuits go, or fursuits and mascots and basically any of those oversized crazy builds, just because it's not necessarily something you can just put on a dress form and pattern.
Not quite.
There's a lot of other steps that go before you can just put it on a dress form. So this is questions for both of you, whoever wants to go first, but what are some of the most important tools in your toolkit, or what is something you think people should absolutely have before they start doing any kind of suits?
Nerdy is the most important tool I have. If it wasn't for him,
Aw.
I would be having a hard time cosplaying still. So,
Aw.
but as in actual tools you can actually buy, scissors.
Yeah.
Scissors, lots and lots of scissors, different shapes, sizes, everything in between, for
Nice.
different needs, and a sharpener.
Yeah, because it dulls the blades pretty quickly.
Yes.
Wait. Are you saying I can't buy nerdy?
No.
Not available in stores.
Unfortunately, no.
Sorry, guys. Only one nerdy is available, and it's already taken.
No.
I know. So how about you, Nerdy? What would you say what's one of your most important tools when you're making suits?
Oh, definitely the scissors, as Cassini brought up.
It's kind of funny because when I'm looking for them, I'm like, I need the gray ones. No, the other gray ones. No, the bigger gray ones. No, the double-edged gray ones that are over there.
Just bring the whole entire drawer of them.
Is there like a list of things that are good to get started with? Like, aside from scissors, you should have that's a pretty generic tool. Is there any like brushes or glues or other things that you guys prefer?
Oh, the whole menagerie. I could go on for days, but most of the time,
Yeah, please.
You can have hot glue. Hot glue is a general thing. You can purchase a pretty decent gun. Even I've gone through the cheap ones, but I've actually what is it called? Broken a breaker, an electrical breaker with the cheap ones.
Oh yeah, the one that exploded, or
yeah, the one I said exploded. So yeah, so like I said, you just play around with tools within your expenses range, and read the manual and see how to properly use it. I've had a lot of people are like, oh, I'll use contact cement for everything. And I'm like, is it ventilated? Please tell me it's ventilated. Yeah, but you can use, if fabrics are always the over cover that everybody likes to use, like either faux furs or minkies, they go to huge expenses, but you can use add-ons that other people make, like 3D resin masks, structures and eyes, and just all these other kind of supplies. You can go for foams and upholstery foam, EVA foams, floor mats, craft foams.
Very cool.
So
foam for days.
Yes.
So on the topic of what like supplies you use, like when you were first getting started, how did you find all those like online stores and things like that would carry tools?
Well, I looked around in person first. Go to Home Depot, Joann's, Walmart, dollar stores. You find what you can get. But if you can't, then obviously there's online, and you look around. You can also ask other people that have done the craft for years or starting to begin themselves, and find out information from them of different distributors.
Very cool. Very cool. So I think the biggest issue that people come up with, because there's not like commercial patterns for a lot of mascots and fursuits. So how do you go from taking this like 2D drawing or whatever your video game reference to making it 3D?
No, I'm very interested in that one because like I've tried before. I don't know, Cassini, if you remember the dragon I tried to turn my brother into.
It was adorable.
It was adorable. It was not super great, man. That stuff is hard to do. So,
it is.
I'm dying to know, like, how do you approach that?
Well, okay, to be honest, I've had people ask me that exact question. How do you transform something you draw to something 3D? And my answer is, I don't know how I do it. I do it, and it's done. The in-between is a very hard translation, and I've seen how others do it, and their methods are sound. I just don't know how I do it. I am not a mathematician, but my head does it anyway. I don't use a projector, yet others do. My head scales things anyway, so whether...
Wait. A projector? Like you just... project what you want on a wall, and you're like, "That's how tall I want it," right?
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
okay,
That exactly.
all right. I wasn't sure if I was like, okay.
No, like when I worked for that company that made like mascots for some of the major league sports teams, that was actually a technique that we used, was using just a regular old projector and like drawing it from the projector onto paper and patterns. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, continue. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
No, it's a good question.
It is,
I've done it
because-
for props before.
Oh yeah, because then you can size it to like your height and stuff.
Yeah, I can put it at knee height, which is not super tall.
When you're scaling to size, it's really hard to do, and there is math to it, but I don't do the equations. I've seen people actually figure out the percentage. They're like, okay, now I have to scale this 175 times, and I'm like, or 175%, and I'm like, what? I didn't take this in school. My brain already does it. It's a little trial and error, but I mean, okay, I do use very basic math when I need to. I just don't realize it at times. I use a sewing measuring tape. I use a yardstick when needed, but most of the time, you can get it like a mini figure if you're doing a very popular character or something like that. That's the best place to start, because they are so well sculpted and sometimes very well detailed, and you can see all angles, every single angle, and so it really helps. Except don't do it for Yoda. Yoda has inconsistency with his how many toes he has. I'm not joking. It is the oddest thing in the world, but some of them are like, no, he has 3 toes. 4 toes he has. No, 5 toes. It's like a parrot.
Oh my gosh.
Which is
He
it?
he just grows and loses toes.
It's one of those special abilities that comes with the Force.
Oh, poor Mandalorian.
Oh no.
He's gonna find a toe and be like, oh no, the baby's falling apart.
This is not the way.
You can tell he's middle-aged because he just got his 4th toe just came in. Anyway, I was gonna say that's a really good point, Cassini, with as far as figures go. Because one of the techniques besides projectors that we would use is we would have a sculptor come in and do something in a small scale, and then we'd cover it with like cling wrap or other things to make a pattern off of that, and then we'd use we'd trace it onto paper, and then we'd use a copy machine to size it up a certain percentage, like you were saying. So having any kind of like 3D is really helpful. Yeah.
That is so genius. I'm now like, what can I do that all with now? Like
Everything.
everything.
We did it with a very obscene-looking cacti because no one was sure how to make that. But I'll send you pictures after. Yeah. So would you say, like, having done this for like a decade, that you kind of get a feel for what kind of cuts in the foam and stuff would make certain shapes that you're going for?
Yeah, that was the second half I was going to talk about, is because not only is it trying to figure out how to transfer 3D back to 2D when you're making a pattern, you have to understand the basics of patterning, and that's with where to put darts, where to have curved lines in a pattern, where to put puzzle pieces. And a lot of novices won't label their pieces, and then they're like, oh, yay, it's a jigsaw now.
Oh no!
You have to put it all back together. If you've ever done Pepakura?
Pepakura?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, some people will do that literally without any instructions, and it's just like, what? How dare you?
Oh,
You bend the laws of physics.
Oh no!
But it's a lot like that, but you're doing your own version of it. And some people do model clay and whatnot. I've never done that before, actually. I've never taken a mini figurine and patterned it and then enlarged it. I just kind of go trial and error and hit my head against the wall until it works.
Fair. Totally fair.
Yeah.
It's a legit method.
Also with patterns, you gotta know simplicity of folding particular pieces and making them symmetrical. And then also making gussets. the in-between pieces so things can stretch and fold.
Ooh.
So the opposite of a dart, basically, right?
Yep.
Nice. So we'll get to heads in a minute because those are like definitely the thing I feel like people ask the most when it comes to like mascots or fursuits is the head.
Oh yeah.
But as far as like inhuman shapes and translating that onto like a human form, like making the legs so they're digigrade instead of like human legs, that they have that like little backward bend to them, or like padding hips and things like that. Like, how would you suggest like starting something like that?
Well, you can do the projection thing. You can actually put a piece of paper on the wall and trace yourself out like you did when you were a kid, like trace a man out, or, mimic a murder scene kind of thing. This is where the body is.
That's what I did for Bentley!
Oh, nice!
He laid down on a bunch of paper that we taped together, and we traced him out, and then we figured out how to do his dragon self after that.
And then after that, you draw where you want to add. You can't draw where you subtract because that would be amputation.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you draw where you can add. And now a lot of people will think, oh, you put big chunks and layers of foam together and then you glue that to make the knees or the thighs or hips. And yes, that does work. However, it ends up being a lot of extra foam, a lot of extra weight, and no ventilation. So others have figured out how to like cage it, make like bird cages, or it's kind of like a hoop skirt almost. For the thighs, like tiny little hoop skirts or bustles. And that way you don't have to have foam. You can actually have pillows instead.
Okay.
There's many other methods to it. Just allowing airflow and still having body and structure and something the fabric can go over it, but it's not, it will still allow you to go through a doorway, so to speak.
So as far as building these goes, would you say then that like having airflow and ventilation is like one of the number one points for you?
Yeah, your vitals are kind of important. If you don't have those, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Let's see. I feel like I've been going to town on these questions. Does anyone want to jump in?
You just make it sound also organic.
Oh,
You're so good at it.
Yeah. So
because I made a bunch of like, please share with me. Like, I know this part's a pain in the butt. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so, if you want to know about the butt, what you got to make sure is that you got to make sure how to get the suit on and off somehow, either Velcro, zipper, or aid of a helper. Because when you got to go, you got to go. You don't want to go in the suit.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because your vitals are important. And so, like I said, you got to make sure how you put these pieces together. Some suits are all in one. You just jump in and zip up. But some of them are multiple pieces. Bowser's is about 8 pieces. Renamon's about 6. Different parts come off. Some even collapse into each other for storage, to travel around.
I was about to ask, I was like, how do you store all that? That's clever.
I live with my parents, who are very great. I am very grateful for, and they have given me several closets to store these things in. That's my name. But
is that what it's from?
Kind of, yes. A lot of people think I come out of the closet. To be quite frank, I'm quite asexual, but it's okay. I don't care.
Nice.
But it's like
nice.
Okay, I don't mind. But no.
So, no, I was going to jump back to the topic of butts, I guess, because that was actually a really good point. I know you've made Bowser, and you also made a character like Mewtwo. How different were those, like, as far as getting into and out of, with having such very different back shapes, I guess?
Mewtwo has no butt.
Oh.
No, he's just all tail.
And down there is my butt. I'm wearing a pair of trunks made out of fleece. That is my butt.
Nice.
So Mewtwo has this giant tail in the back, and we were trying to figure out how to get that on and off because we got to make it a separate piece in order to travel and that kind of thing. And we figured, why don't we put a parachute buckle in between the legs? Brilliant idea. We got to hide that.
Oh, okay.
Put a sock of fleece that mimics the front part of the belly, so it camouflages into the back of the tail. And unfortunately, when you unbuckle it, it does not look pretty.
Oh.
So, trying to avoid that, because here's the thing. I'm the only one that can probably do it comfortably with Nerdy, and I don't want to upset anybody else. And so I am bending over, making sure it doesn't look like I'm doing a job for him.
Oh, no.
When just putting on the suit. Yes, please do tell Bannon.
No, so say you wouldn't think, but like with a lot of characters, you can only get into and out of them certain ways. And I remember running late for a Sailor Moon photo shoot, and I was Eternal Sailor Jupiter. And I was trying to get into my sailor outfit myself, and you can't, like, unless you want a zipper to show, you can't go in through the side or the back. You have to go in from the bottom under the skirt, and then you have like crotch snaps, for lack of a better term. It's crotch snaps. Like a little baby onesie, you know how they have like the diaper snaps? Yeah, they're like that. But like trying to bend myself over to get them when I'm wearing like a corset and shapewear and everything else was so hard.
Oh my goodness.
So you have a helper friend who does not mind getting up close and personal that can help you close your crotch snaps.
Yes.
That's the tagline of the episode.
Get a friend who's okay with touching your crotch snaps. Done. Tagline. Anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly that. You get very intimate with the character, or intimate with you and your handler or friends or whoever, whatever entourage you're with.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's a big part of cosplay in general, is just some of these outfits are so insane to get into that you have to have someone like helping you when you're half naked or mostly naked, or you have to have someone like snapping you into uncomfortable areas. And it's a lot like being backstage at a theater company. You're just, clothes are flying everywhere and people have to get on stage and, you know, it's
very much
it's good to have people that are comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let's talk. Let's talk about. I feel like we kind of mentioned before, but like I personally think the hardest part is building a head. Do you, Nerdy and Cassini, do you agree with that? Before we start talking about heads.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, then let's talk. Go ahead, David.
But like, what makes it so difficult? I imagine that like with the idea of like doing the backwards leg thing for the thing, and you've got the hoop skirt that goes around your thigh. Is it not a similar concept, or am I? Remember, I am the non-cosplayer for this podcast, so please explain to me like I'm 5.
So if I can jump in on this, like just going from like the sports mascot point of view, one of the biggest things is it's almost like commissioning somebody's original character. So they give us a breakdown of what the character looks like from the side, from the front. And because they use that character for branding and for promotion, it has to look as close to that character as we can possibly make it. The head is usually the most recognizable part of a mascot. And so, like, if you don't get the head down, the whole thing looks whack.
Absolutely.
And so getting that, like, dead on, like, getting the style right, getting the proportions right, is so important to the overall look of the character, just because it's usually the first place someone's eyes go is like, what's the face look like?
Gotta be careful about that uncanny valley stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, horror stories of the internet.
I'm not saying you should Google Pierre the Pelican.
But you shall.
Oh,
But
is that the New Orleans Pelicans mascot?
yes, it is.
I thought so.
I did make that. so
Careful, Dirty.
It's terrifying. Don't look at it late at night.
You know what? To be fair, I made it exactly how they asked for it.
If it means anything, Penn State's mascot looks like roadkill.
It does. What about the weird one that I keep on mentioning that doesn't even look whatever? It's just green and it has a honker.
Oh, the Philly Fanatic?
Yeah, what is that?
I wonder that about the Cleveland Indians mascot, too, Slider.
What is that thing?
Oh, jeez.
But that's what it is. It's a conversation starter.
Not wrong. So moving away from mascot horror stories, like,
Thank you.
What makes making a mascot head or a character mascot or a character's head design and proportions? What makes that so difficult?
So, like Pannon said, it's the first thing that people look to. It's also where most of your vitals are. You breathe, you see, you speak, you hear. If you don't have at least 3 of the 5 senses there, you're going to have some problems. And surprisingly, a lot of deaf people actually like to suit up in cosplay and in mascots and whatnot. And so you have to be extra vigilant and extra careful. They actually sell badges that say, please do not touch, but or don't startle me, so to speak. But if you get one eye off, because symmetry is such a foul mistress, trying not to swear. If you get one eye off, everybody knows it. And if you get the pupil just ever so slightly out of whack, it's staring back at you and staring through your soul, and you don't want to give that impression to people.
Either that or it looks incredibly derpy.
Oh yeah, there's always the derpy suits. But trying to mimic those proportions to yourself, get your head inside a character's head, literally speaking, it can be fairly daunting, because some of these shapes that they come up with are like triangular or cube-like, and they're not exactly human-esque, obviously, and so they have giant maws or snouts.
Yeah, wasn't Bonnie a bit of a heavy one for you?
The head's not heavy, but it was interesting because I created the head like a Fabergé egg.
Okay.
Because the front mask comes off, and inside I just wear a complete black balaclava kind of like ski mask over my entire face so no one sees me, but it's the mask that's caved in or internal, so you can actually see some of the metal workings or wires inside, so it looks like an animatronic.
So when you're building a head, Cassini, how do you decide where to put the vision? Because I know some people will go through the eyes, some people go through the mouth. Like, what's a determining factor for you in deciding that?
Wherever you think you can see. I have seen
Go ahead.
No, sorry, David, go ahead.
So, like, if it's like the nostrils, or maybe like the head is actually pretty tall, and so like you might make something through like the neck or maybe the chest of the costume. Does that sound about right?
Sadly, yes, that is what some people go through. I personally am afraid of tracheometry, or however you say it. I don't like trachs. I don't like trachs in suits. I feel bad, but yeah, that is an option. You know, many people actually go through that and do a very good job. So
yeah, when I did the Heartless for the Kingdom Hearts skit that I did, is like the Reaper at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, and his head is like 4 feet tall, and so his face is like way above my head, so the only place I could put it was like way down low on his neck, because his neck is like a half of his body. So
Same thing with the Loftwing I made. The
Oh,
visual is
yeah.
actually in the neck.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that Loftwing.
So it's literally wherever you think you can see out of it.
And it varies from character to character as well.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like, because you've talked a lot about like airflow and things like that, do you feel like it's really important to make sure you're getting a fan in there, or is it okay to just like have enough air that can pass through okay?
Well, you know your own vitals, and some people overheat easily. I would definitely recommend a fan as a possibility, and make sure that you include that in your blueprints or your sketches and figure out how to establish that before anything else. Test it before even doing any skinning over it or any other construction over the face of the head. Get the skeleton work done and get that fan in there. And make sure that you are far enough away from the fan so your hair doesn't get caught up in there. I've had that with Bowser.
Oh, no.
It was at Nihon Matsuri, and we were on stage, and it was going all good until I felt my hairs and it goes, bing, 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 bing. And I'm like, oh, there goes my bangs.
Oh, no. So as far as the fans go, would you suggest having the fans pointing inward to cool you off, or pointing outward, kind of like a computer to like vent hot air?
Cooling you off. That's my personal preference. Some people will actually put fans in the bottom of a chin or a jawline.
Oh, okay.
And have that exert, if that makes sense, and blow out hot air. But it's general preference. Oh, I've also seen them put it like inside the ear cavities.
That one is clever.
Yeah, and it pulls it from like your temples and the top of your head, so to speak, kind of like a ball cap would.
Oh, that probably feels nice.
But some people put ice packs or wear ice vests or cooling stuff. You know, you yourself know your vitals. So when you're building a suit, you got to figure out, am I going to be constantly running to the bathroom? And I begin constantly drinking water? Am I going to be constantly taking this on and off?
The sports mascots, what we did for the heads as like a base is we would use like bicycle and skate helmets and then build onto those. Do you do the same thing? Do you generally like build just straight onto your head? Like how do you position that when you're getting started?
It really varies on the character. When it's big and bulky, yes, I would recommend those bicycle helmets. Kira was that. Loftwing was that.
Oh, nice.
We used a hat for my first cosplay ever, Hattie Haddington from Battle Block Theater.
Yeah, it's a cardboard box, but it has a baseball cap inside it.
Oh, nice.
I love that cosplay.
It varies. Some of them you want to be kind of skin tight, like Mewtwo, and run them on a little bit. They wear balaclava starts. Some people go for the bucket head, and it's not exactly that you actually use a 5-gallon bucket or anything like that. It's a technique where you take a piece of foam or 4 pieces of foam and shape it into a dome over your head kind of thing, so your head can go inside it, and then you can build on top of that with foam pieces.
Ooh, okay.
And other people sculpt from a block of foam. I personally don't like that method because it's a lot of waste of foam, and you can always cut away, and it's very hard to add. Very hard to add back what you cut. So unless you're Michelangelo or Da Vinci that can actually sculpt things, best of luck sculpting, cutting away and whatnot with a foam block, because you're going to be taking a chainsaw to it. It's easier to take it small pieces and adding and then subtracting. It's really hard to say because it's a lot easier to do small bits, tiny bits, rather than big bunches of stuff.
So as far as doing that, when you're building it up, I know it's sometimes hard to get the foam completely smooth before you start putting your overlayer on. Do you suggest going over it with any sort of materials? Like how do you get it smoothed out before you start putting on your outward fabric.
Yeah, that was one of like the trickiest things that I was trying to figure out with Bentley's thing.
Yeah, trying to get rid of lumpy bumps.
Yeah, lumpy bumps go away.
Several different pairs of scissors will have different cutting edges. I don't know how to phrase it. They will cut foam differently because they are intended for different materials. And if you get different styles of craft scissors, they will vary greatly. And because either sharpness or length or just how much they cut off. And so you want to scale down. Like if you were sanding wood, you go for the most coarsest thing ever, and then you scale down to the tiniest and try to get all those nooks and crannies out. Then, pro tip, cover it in quilting batting.
I was just going to say that. I'm so glad you did.
And then do your pattern, but make sure that you have at least clean wrap, plastic wrap, or something like that before you put duct tape or masking tape on it.
No,
That's so
I
cool.
love the batting because it's kind of like when you're making props and you put down your what's the spray that you sand? I can't words. Primer. It's basically like primer because it smooths everything out before you start putting on your final coats.
Okay. That's
After
a
a
good way
billion
to put that.
layers and 10 hours of sanding.
Yeah.
But yes.
Upholstery work is no different.
Yeah. I don't have recent experience with this. No, not at all.
So we kind of mentioned like where you got started, but are there any tutorials or cosplayers or YouTubers or builders, etc., that you look up to that you started with that you kind of learned from, or was yours more of a like trial and error and just learned your own way?
It was first the latter. It was trial and error. But yeah, the internet's been a great tool for this. Okay, so tutorials for any beginner, I would definitely recommend right now, look up Fursuits.
How do you spell that?
KLOOFSUITS.
Okay.
Suits.
Their paw pattern has been sold a cajillion times, and everybody ends up using it. I made my own.
Oh, nice.
Aw.
Because I was like, yeah, I can spot Fursuits pattern from a mile away, and I love when people try to make it, and they're like, I made my own pattern. I'm like, that's heavily inspired.
Mhm.
But also, I am probably going to mispronounce this, and I am so sorry. Mugiwara Cosplay, MUGIWARA Cosplay. Mugiwara?
I believe that's
I think
how
so.
it is.
Maybe. I am horrible at pronunciations.
That's okay.
They
So
do...
we got Pan in here.
Thank you.
I'm just assuming it's a Japanese pronunciation. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Might be.
I happen to know that they are from the UK or possibly Germany, Austria, somewhere in there. I am so sorry, but no, they are amazing. They have given the internet so many tutorials, and they sell their patterns of basic construction on Etsy, and it's just beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the hard parts, like way back in the day when I barely started working at that company, was like, I had no idea how a lot of these things were built. And a lot of it seemed like trade secrets. Like I couldn't even find online tutorials for how to put that together. So I think it's really neat that cosplayers are sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. When I started, all I knew was Riley, who used to go by the name of Canine Hybrid. She goes by another name now because of incident on the internet, as internets go. Or that Canine Hybrid was taken. But she now goes by Mythomorph Labs.
Mythomorph.
Mythomorph? Now I got my list going. She was one of the first people I came across, and a lot of people came across her creation. She was doing Jijinkas and then anthropomorphic suits of Pokemon into cosplay.
Oh.
And then Monoyasha, I think her actual name's Jessica. It's one of the people behind Dream Vision Creations. They made a toothless quad suit, and it was just
Ooh,
fantastic.
oh yeah, I think I saw that.
And it's just, they showed a little about how they made it and what they did. And that was the beginning of where I started off and tried to learn from them. And then, also, I'm going to mispronounce her name too. I am so sorry. Lily Leah West. Oh, Liana. Oh, I am so sorry. Her online name is The Beast Cub. She's been making suits for 15 years or so. She is a senior in this craft. She has been also a master of quad suits. She made her loft wing a lot sooner or before I even thought about doing it. And so I kind of looked at hers and tried to figure out what she did for it.
Oh, Cassini, can I stop you for one sec? Will you, for our listeners at home, will you explain what the difference is between like an upright and a quad suit?
Oh, yeah. So upright is how we walk, such as platigrade. That means flat foot. You can have padding with that if you really wanted to, but you can just walk around like you normally do, unless you want to play in character or not. But then you have the digigrade, and that tends to be foam padding around the legs. Some people actually go far out with stilts, and they'll have it for equine or like werewolves or monsters of that like, and actually go around in stilts that really make their legs look animalistic. And then
did you do that in the card captor cosplay? I don't remember the creature name.
Keroberos was a quad suit, and quad suit means being on all fours.
Oh, sorry, my brain was like flipping that around. Oh my gosh.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Yeah, quad suits are when you're on all fours, and most of them are not stilts. It's more of hand stilts rather than feet stilts. Yeah, so I understand what you're getting at. Yeah, now that I realized it, I'm like, but there is stilts. They're on your hands. So yeah, you're crawling around on all fours, similar to almost like a gorilla. I hate to put it that way, but that's how your body ends up being, kind of. And then you also make these stilts for your hands that make a spacer for you in the floor. And some of them move. Some people don't have them move. And you can make them articulated or not. And so those kind of things are the extreme, going into full quad suit, and that is one of the hardest to do. I could only last about 4 minutes, and I
was going to say, I remember when we did that card captor skit together, that we had to like time it right before we went on stage, yes, like when all the pieces go on you.
Yeah, because I am way out of shape. I hate to admit that, but for people that are in shape, it's even very difficult. Some people have fainted and fallen off the stage because of how dangerous it can be. So, but it is fantastic.
I'm still surprised that I could be in the Mewtwo suit for as long as I did.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
In July.
Yeah, in July during Gaming Con.
Oh man. So on that note, since y'all are talking about like some of the difficulties, what do you wish someone had told you like about wearing a fursuit or a mascot for the first time? Like what advice would you give others?
When you start getting into cosplay and craft, make sure you have enough room for all the storage, because you can buy 5 yards of elastic at the store and only end up using 2 inches. And it's like with everything. If it's not elastic, it's fabric. It's this, it's foam, it's that, and tools. And so you have to have some kind of storage mechanism in order to keep it all. And then storing your costumes, you're probably going to have to say goodbye to some of them, either sell them or whatever have you, or rip them apart. And that's disheartening because you took all the time to make it, wear it for 20 minutes, and then tear it apart. Ultimately. It's sad, but that's it's either to refurbish, rebuild, or improve. I would also tell any beginner, if you don't have room because you may have a living space like an apartment or a small area and you don't have storage, you may have to buy it from someone and rather than make it yourself, but it is good to have the fundamentals in case of repairs.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to hand sew, learn how to use a hot glue gun, that kind of thing. But if you do end up buying it, be very, very, very careful on the internet because China loves to advertise that they sell things for cheap, and there is theft everywhere. I've had
I was going to say, your Bowser's been up there on some of the websites, hasn't it?
Yeah, China actually stole pictures from DeviantArt, and they were trying to sell the whole suit for $375 or something of the sort. And they're like, oh, yes, it's only one piece. And I'm like, no, it's 8 pieces. I know it's 8 pieces. I made the thing.
I think I would know.
Mhm.
But they combined my pictures along with another cosplayer from Canada who used, like the piñata stuff. When you make a piñata and you dap the paper in...
Paper mache.
Paper mache?
Yeah, they made a paper mache Bowser, and China used their pictures and my pictures and says, we make that exactly. And it's like, how do you make both exactly? That's impossible.
Mhm.
They're 2 different suits.
They're 2 different methods, and it's like, no, you don't do that.
So you covered like storage and space and whatnot. What about wearing it?
Oh, that creates a whole different bubble.
Mm-hmm.
If you put your arms out and go around or turn around, you know your own personal bubble. But when you're doing in a suit that may have wings and a giant tail, that a floor dragger is what some of them call it, which is huge, it creates that much more of a bubble. You have to be careful. I've seen some people try to go through the artist alley in a suit, and it's like, oh, no. Yeah, but some of them manage. Some people... go through convention hallways when it's crowded in a suit, and you just have to imagine it's like an actual big person. There's a person in there. You have to be courteous of that. You have to mentally understand, is something touching or whacking somebody? When you wore the Mewtwo suit, Nerdy, whenever the back of the tail would flip around and hit somebody, you probably always wondered if it hit someone.
I certainly hope I didn't.
It was always me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I made sure it was always me and not somebody else because I didn't want anybody else hit in the face or hit in the chest because of that.
Thankfully, it's relatively soft.
Yeah, it's fine. But, I mean, when you have these things for cosplay, it's the same thing with props. If you have a long sword or a long staff, you don't want to be poking somebody with it. Normally with a suit, it's kind of the same concept. You may take up the whole elevator space or the whole elevator itself.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to generalize and see how much do you want to endure and how much pain do you want to have others go through for you.
Yeah.
So, like, it's essentially essential that you have a handler when you do big mascot cosplays like that.
Oh, it's mandatory. I'm sorry. Some people can do it without. Surprisingly, when I did Bonnie, I had great vision, great ventilation. I can walk around and know my personal bubble very well and not interfere with anybody else. But Bowser, Keroboros, that kind of thing, I can't see behind me. I can't even see to the sides of me. I can barely hear. Mm-hmm. And so it's best to have a handler.
My vision was pretty limited with Mewtwo as well.
A handler can see when little kids are running up and they're like, little character that I am very familiar with, I want to hug you. And of course the kid is going to do that without asking permission, and you definitely don't want to punt the baby, you know. So
kick the baby.
No, you don't want to do that. That's always a bad thing. Disneyland knows that far too well with their mascots. So can
you imagine getting knocked over by your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, who's that Pokemon?
So-and-so used kick. It was effective.
It was very effective.
Oh, no.
Some poor kid is traumatized.
So we mentioned handlers, we mentioned heat and airflow. Have you ever had to design, like, to make sure you can hydrate, like get water?
You gotta think about that. How many times are you gonna take off the head to get water and what have you? With Renomon, I got to the point I just didn't want to take off the head. It had ventilation in it, but taking it on and off was such a pain. We did have an opening in the mouth, and so I told my friend Allison, I'm like, get a water bottle and just shove it in there, and I'll get it. And so there was pictures.
I wish I would have been there for that.
There's pictures of Renomon having a water bottle shoved down her throat, like you know? Because it's trying to access so I can get some water. But along with handlers, the most important thing is that they can see a problem possibly coming up, either by a crowd or just a natural disaster. You know, somebody could call fire, you know, that kind of thing. They can help you get out of there. And they are the most likely to help you get out of a suit if it's a medical condition. If you end up fading, the helper can get you out of the suit. You have got to have a solid verbal communication of knowing how to take things off without having the EMT take the scissors to your suit to get you out.
Ooh, that's a good point.
That's a very good point.
Couldn't help but chuckle a little bit, because when I was a spotter for her with her Bowser for the first time, I couldn't help but like every 2 steps we had somebody ask for a picture. It was like the encounter rate of Final Fantasy II every 2 steps.
Oh no.
I warned you, it was like that. It's just like I said, you don't want to get caught in a difficult situation. I was punched in the face by a kid in Bowser.
Ooh.
And
I remember that. I think we shared that as a horror story on here.
Yeah, it was so sad because I was like, I was there for the kids and they turned on me.
Oh.
I was dressed as the villain, but okay. But you live and learn. I've actually never been punched in the face until that point, but
oh man,
like I said, with handlers and stuff like that, hopefully they can help prevent situations. Like I said, if there's a fire, they can hopefully get you out of the crowd, kind of thing. It is so very vital.
So, kind of switching gears here, like I feel like most people when they get into cosplay, they are looking at a lot of similar costumes you'd see in a Halloween store, you know, like they are usually human-shaped costumes. What made you, when you started, decide on mascots and fursuits and things like that?
Well, like I said, I'm not very much in shape, and I don't fit the Japanese school girl norm, and I realized that when I was in high school and thought cosplay was cool. And I have different opinions now because, heck, I've seen you cosplay Sailor Moon, and I'm like, Pennon, you're gorgeous,
Aww.
you know. And I've seen Mercedes do Chic, and I'm like, how? Teach me your way. And here's the thing: is body positivity is a huge factor in cosplay, but more so, it's just having fun. And I'm very socially awkward. I have a problem being in giant crowds of people. I never really wanted to attend Comic-Con, now FanX, for the longest time because I saw those crowds of people and that terrified me. And Nerdy coming with me, he actually gave me the confidence in order to just attend and go.
Aww.
And so if it wasn't for him, I would still probably be very, very scared to be in masses of people.
Yeah, it is very intimidating, especially when you're in a suit that's like that hard to move in too.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what made you like decide to stay on and keep making mascots and whatnots?
Oh, the fun of it. It's like you find a creature or a character and it's like, that's impossible. I must do it.
The challenge.
I still have some on my I still have some on my personal list, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll eventually do it. Eventually.
I swear some of the people who design costumes and characters are just like, take that, cosplayers, and we're like, challenge accepted.
Nerdy's got one of that, actually.
Yes, I have one in mind, which I feel would be absolutely brilliant.
Oh, tell us your dream cosplays.
Okay, have any of you played Final Fantasy IV?
Yes.
I would not mind doing in a cosplay contest the part where Cecil transitions from a Dark Knight to a Paladin and have the Dark Knight armor collapse, crumble off of me, and have the Paladin attire underneath.
It's kind of like
that would be freaking cool.
It's like the magical girl concept that's been done over and over again, which is also awesome, but with armor.
Yeah, I'm here
I
for
love
it.
That.
I love this.
I did. I cosplayed Cecil like way back in the day, but it was not cool in transforming. It was like my first time doing armor.
Oh, I want to see that.
That would be freaking amazing.
I also wanted to do something very similar, but with mascots, and it just became too complicated. I still have the fundamentals of it built, but I wanted to do a Digimon of, I'm going to get them wrong, and I am so sorry. Is it Birdramon?
Yeah, Birdramon.
The flaming bird with the teeth and the beak.
Yeah.
I wanted to have that as an overlay, and I might have to have that like almost peeking over a backdrop, and then pull it back to drop it off so the audience doesn't see, and then come out with Gardramon.
Oh,
ooh.
I love this.
Yeah.
And
I love all of this.
I would love to work on that, but it's just the menagerie of everything, because you got to have ninjas, stage ninjas. You got to have all these pieces into play. And when we did Mewtwo and Nurse Joy, we tried to do it nearly all by ourselves, and we did have help from people. And I thank the skit before us. I don't recognize their cosplay name, and I feel bad. I kind of forgot, but they cosplayed a beautiful Princess Jellyfish.
Oh yeah. I think that was a Lviv cosplay.
Oh, they were amazing. And they were so very kind to help us, and I felt so bad, and I'm like, I should have employed somebody.
Aw, that's so nice.
But I'm like, it's just all these things that go together to make a thing happen on stage, to make it magical. And
yeah, that's one of my favorite memories. I still hear it in the back of my mind, the reaction of the crowd when I tore the helmet off.
Aww.
I loved hearing that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Like, I feel like not like it's common, but I feel like we see a lot more of skits with quick changes just on regular outfits. And I like never see that in a mascot. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
well, you got to change it up.
Yeah.
I mean, people came out with that, and now everybody's doing it, and it's fabulous. I'm not saying it's overdone. I want to see more magical girl transformations on stage, but
I do hope I can manage to execute it well with Cecil.
Yeah.
Nice. That would be really cool. So we talked a lot about construction and building and whatnot. I feel like mascots and fursuits and things of that same nature have a lot more difficulties, I guess, in the cosplay community. What would you say is, first of all, what's the difference between like doing a mascot character like Pikachu or dressing as like your fursona?
So it's a difference of creativity. When you're doing a copyrighted character for cosplay, you can make the character fit you, or rather than you fit the character, but you want to keep within the limitations, because just like you said with making sports mascots, it's got to look as close to the character as possible or recognizable. You can have fundamental experiments with, like, let's make this a Jajinka or Lolita, or mix two characters together and have fun with it. But it's still, in order to get that popularity and clout and recognition, it's still refined creativeness. Whereas when you do a fursona, it's either something you purely made yourself or a character's likeness that appeals to you. They actually sell designs of whatever they create, and they auction off character designs all the time.
Oh, cool.
They'll buy it and then say, I want a suit of this kind of thing. And so even if they can't draw, they'll buy somebody's artwork, and it's whatever the character appeals to them. And you can customize it. You can have it have wings. You can have it have, you should see some of the most crazy ones out there. Some of them have installed stereos in the suit.
Oh, wow.
Some of them have two maws, like two jaws. Some of them have 2 or 3 sets of heads on one head, almost like Cerberus.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
some get pretty elaborate.
Some of them have LEDs all over them that sync with music.
So, like, doing a mascot then is more like copying an existing design or like popular character, whereas doing like a persona is a lot more personalized and meaningful to the person.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Okay. Very cool. No, that's cool. Like, I've seen people cosplay as like original characters, and people are just like, "Oh, that's an interesting design. What is it?" And they're just like, "Oh, it's a character I made up." So it's kind of similar to that, would you say?
Yeah, it is, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I encourage it. However, if you're wanting recognition and trying to get popularity and unfortunately clout or whatever have you behind it, that's where you have to cosplay something recognizable and something really colorful and bombastic.
I see. I feel like I kind of mentioned this as we were transitioning the topic, but I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to like furries, fursuiters, and masketeers. Do you feel like doing a lot of mascot suits, you still get a lot of flack about that? Or
Absolutely.
like, what are some of those misconceptions, would you say?
Okay, I'm going to be brutally honest. I warned. Okay, so furries in general, what they want to be referred to as people that are art enthusiasts and creative artists and people having a good time, and they are representing themselves in an anthropomorphic way.
Right.
And they're having a convention like anybody else. They have an artist alley, a dealer's den. They go around.
Incredible artists.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
They make a lot of money, I'll tell you that much. But you can express yourself in a costume of elaborate fashion, almost like at Burning Man, or what France does every once in a while. And it's very similar. It's an expression of art. And an expression of what makes us human, you know?
Right. I like that.
And so, unfortunately, society and social news and whatever have you, they like to trash on it, of course, and they like to call them sexual deviants and just perverts and, you know, the disgusting folk, the trash folk. And it's so sad because they don't even see the art. They don't even see the good that comes out of these communities. So here's the thing, is that furries started up in California with these 2 guys liking cartoon arts, and they're like, hey, we like these animated characters. And then other people are like, hey, I want to dress up as those. And it just exploded from there. And it's just amazing what people do for the sake of art on that. But unfortunately, society hears of the conventions that get banned, or the people that refer to themselves as furries, but they have been burned. They don't want the more liberal stance of politics involved with furries. And so they're like, we're going to have our own group. And that's just like with society, you know, you have one religion and they're like, well, we like some of it, but we don't like all of it, and we're going to make our own group. You know, it's just how it goes. But
furry sex, I can't. Nope.
Yeah, I can't either. And here's the thing.
I can't do the word sects. Like, religious.
Oh, you're saying sects with a T in it, right?
Oh, okay.
Like, okay. Okay.
That's what I was trying to say, like sections.
I was like, Mercedes.
Oh,
what are you doing?
No.
And here's the thing. This is the funniest connotation, is because they're like, the younger generation isn't having kids anymore. And it's like, but you don't mind, but you criticize them being sexual deviants? What gives? You know, you can't have both.
Right.
It's not how it works. And so it's like, hey, if some people prefer that, Let them be in their own private room, in their own private yard. That stays there. They don't need to come out with it, and they don't need to express it, only with those that are comfortable. And we're all adults. Let's just deal with it, kind of thing. And unfortunately, some individuals have taken down conventions because of their sexual deviousness or their mischievous behavior. And it's ruined conventions. And that ruins it for everyone.
So you'd say that, like, it's partly people's misconception, but that there's also people within the communities that kind of further that idea?
Yeah, legitimate truth. Okay. Here's a legitimate, here's a conundrum. There is a fursuitist out there that has made a fursuit that resembles the pattern of the Confederate flag.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They are not allowed at fursuits, or fursuit meets, or furry conventions, but they have made such a thing. I'm not surprised if they do one with the Nazi flag. It is not acceptable, but they do it anyway. And it's one person.
Yeah.
That photo goes around and it ruins it for everybody.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like that's also a commonality with cosplay in general, though, because we also have cosplayers who do some really questionable things. And unfortunately, a lot of that kind of stuff gets more media attention.
Yes.
So most of us are just having fun, living our lives. And then there are definitely outliers that can hurt our reputation.
Absolutely. And, I mean, that's within every group. However, if I can put in some good words about furries, because like I said,
please, yes.
We're being honest about it and telling the bad side of it. Here's the good side. They have made huge donations to animal wildlife funds, pet adoption centers, saving animals in natural habitats, and awareness of such things, such as the Australia wildfires that happened. They have donated so much money towards that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when they were first
their charity. I was gonna say their charity work is just like phenomenal. The amount of things that fursuiters will go out and do, like, it's amazing.
Very much so.
Some of the suits have gone on to auction to cost over $10,000 to $20,000.
Wow.
Oofda.
There is one individual that has 3 to 4 of the most expensive suits in their menagerie.
Wow.
Sonic Fox, if anybody's heard of him, he is a young gamer who's won tournaments, and he wears a fursuit while doing so.
While gaming?
Yes.
Yes.
Whoa! Like, how do you push the button? Like, that's hard.
He doesn't wear the gloves, but he does wear the mask.
Okay. I was like, dang!
His character is now featured in the background of one of the stages of the game Skullgirls.
So,
cool!
Oh, wow, that's awesome!
It's like a cameo. Violent J, who is a member of ICP, so his daughter's a furry, and so they decided to try to get a fursuit, and they unfortunately bought it from China. Guess what happened? So they decided that they would do a little more general research, find out who's makers and what have you, and Violent J himself got a suit made of his stage persona, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
And it's
I saw that.
Yeah, Insane Clown Posse.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that he could attend conventions with his daughter.
That's freaking cool. That's awesome. That was like supportive parent award.
Very much so, yes.
A lot of these conventions,
that's so sweet.
They are learning, they are modifying, they're making it more family friendly. They may have adult activities at night, but they are making it more general appealness of art expression rather than some kind of private party convention you would hear from Las Vegas. And so they are trying their best to modify and do a better job and showing, hey, we are pro-LGBT. We donate lots of money to really good organizations and foundations. And here's a good story, if I can tell a good one. John Oliver.
For sure.
Yeah, John Oliver and his show.
Oh, I heard about this.
Okay. So he heard about an artist who has done some art which cannot be expressed less than anthropomorphic rat erotica. That has been submitted to a art gallery of an Eastern or Midwestern or Mid-Eastern state.
I want to say Midwest.
In the 90s or the early 2000s. And they had no idea that it was considered furry porn. It was compared to oil and pastel paintings of landscapes and still life and something you would see out of a museum, and here you go. Furry erotica.
I mean, it's art. It is art.
It is, yes.
It's got a tasteful fashion to him. So John Oliver himself asked if anybody has the original copy, he's willing to buy it and then also donate a couple $1,000s to a particular charity. And he got it.
He got it.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so it is phenomenal and amazing of what an expressionary culture and form has brought into this world, and for people to tarnish it and news media to say, oh, these sexual deviants, TT, let's put them in the trash.
Yeah.
It's like, no, sorry. People will stand up and say, this is for art. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, you have the freedom to leave.
Yeah, there's the door.
So I feel like at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of people who love dressing up in costume. And sometimes I still get the feeling that there's a little bit of a divide between like cosplay and fursuits and mascots and things like that. How do you recommend that the cosplay community in general is more inclusive?
They are already pretty inclusive. I've seen quite a handful or quite a few furries have little fur meet at a anime convention or a pop culture convention. I would suggest for them, anybody suiting up and what have you, have your own personal responsibilities. Know the area you're going to. Understand the rules. Same with the hotel. Some hotels don't like you bringing big baggage or anything that sheds, such as fur or feathers. And so you got to understand their rules. And then the convention themselves, they try to keep up pretty decent standards of rules of if you're going to enter into a cosplay contest or of the sort, have the stage dimensions, know how big of an object you can have there or the maximum. And also hallways, guidance, and that kind of thing. Make sure that there's a flow of traffic when people are trying to take photos and whatnot. Step aside outside the flow of traffic. Don't bind anything. And also a nice touch that some other outside of furry fandom conventions have been doing is a headless lounge, which is a safe place. Cool. Where people can desuit or take off the head and cool off and rehydrate, have a bite to eat or something like that, and not be in the public eye. There is a strong creed notion of not breaking the magic, that you will always have the head on, and I'm appalled by that creed, because if it's an emergency, you're going to take that head off.
Yeah, I've had to do so about, 4 or 5 times as Mewtwo. Yeah,
and sometimes you have to do that in public. You can step aside out of the public view as much as possible, but sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes you're dressing up in the parking lot because there is no other space to dress up in a large costume.
Right.
And so,
as
a general audience rule, which they try to tell cosplayers, is like, hey, if you see a cosplayer getting dressed or undressing or having a drink, a bite to eat, or talking with somebody, politely ask before asking, can you put the head on so we can take a photo with our kids? It's like, it's not Disneyland. These are individuals. They came here to have fun just as much as you do. They're not being paid to do this. And so it's the same general rule with cosplay, that kind of thing, is just be polite and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It's unspoken etiquette.
Mm-hmm. True. Well, I super appreciate all of your insight and ideas and this has been a very fun episode. We like to end with having a horror story or a fun, uplifting story of something that's happened to you at convention. So if either or both of you want to share, we would love to hear yours.
Unfortunately, we probably already spoken of the horror stories we had planned. Mewtwo is very hung, and my Bowser was sold on Etsy. It does have a price on it, or not. It wasn't sold on Etsy. It was sold by China.
Or at least it tried to be.
Yeah, on Alibaba.com. That's why I never want to buy from Alibaba. I'm sorry. That and Wish, I am very skeptical of because of those kind of issues. But I don't know. What's your favorite? You've gone to conventions with me. What's your favorite memory?
Hearing that so many people enjoyed the Mewtwo suit, that was reward enough for me.
Aw, yeah.
I had that with Bonnie too, and it is something. It's a magical moment.
Yeah, I feel like you get a really big reaction with a really big costume like that.
Oh, absolutely. Kiro Barros especially. You just hear the death of silence, and it's like, uh-oh. What happened? And they're more like, uh-oh, what's that on stage?
That's awesome. Well, one more time for our listeners, can you tell us your social media and where we can find you guys online?
We have an Etsy store that we sell little parts and what have you. We also offer commissions. We make plushies and costume pieces. We also have a YouTube that has a few little videos of some of the more elaborate plushies that I've worked on. Also have a Facebook that been working on making it more more everyday kind of posts, but it's very difficult to do. It's all under Cassini Closet.
It's all under Cassini Closet, and that's CASSINICLOSET.
MOUSE.
Awesome.
Hey. We also have evening art that we that I have personally abandoned since December. Whoops. But I'll get back to it.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you guys so much.
I also want to quickly throw out there that Cassini was actually the very, very, very first feature on the Stitch and Seam blog.
Oh, that's so cool!
So Cassini is what started up my blog. So
it has come full circle.
Yeah, so if you guys want to, you can go and see that. That article is still up there.
And where can they do that, Mercedes?
At CosplayStitchAndSeam.com. Booyah.
Nice. And while you're there, why don't you fill out the form?
What?
I'm taking over your spot.
How dare!
Or you can email us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com.
And you can also go to our Facebook page and tell us your cosplay horror stories, your fun stories, share your work in progress Wednesdays. And while you're on the internet, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podchaser, wherever, just like Jinx26 in the US says. I can't believe I found a cosplay podcast, and such a great one. You guys are awesome, super entertaining, informative, such a lovely listen in such a tough time. Keep it up.
Aww.
Give us 5
thanks.
stars.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. And we also have a Patreon if you want to join us for our Cosplay Chronicles. That's patreon.com/CosplayStitch. And a shout out to our latest patron that was just today, actually. It's Stacy Pitt. We've had her on the show a couple times. So we love you, Stacy. Thank you so much.
Awesome! And before we close out, I actually do have a sort of cosplay happy/horror story that I wanted to share.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and it deals with mascots.
Oh, nice.
So the dragon that I tried to turn Bentley into, it was very cute. The mask stares into my soul.
It's the eyes.
Yeah, Bentley has kept the head. He keeps it with him. He doesn't fit in the rest of it, but we essentially had to sew him into that.
Oh no.
We did use a slightly stretched fabric so he could kind of pull his arms out. but it was very, like, restricting for him. But by the end of the day at FantasyCon, he was actually able to get in and out of the top of that really quickly. The bottom part was trickier for him, and so bathroom breaks were very planned. And I remember, so this is like the horror part is like, you know, we always would he'd be like, I need to use the bathroom. We'd be like, oh crap, and we would run. But the kind of like the sweet thing that happened was we're in the green room, we're waiting for our turn to go on stage and whatnot. There's still a panel going on, and like the whole day, like I'm terrible at actually going out and like meeting the famous people at conventions and all that kind of stuff. So I usually end up missing out on that. And at FantasyCon, they actually had John Rhys Davies there. And I was just like, oh man, he's Gimli. Like, he's so cool. He's, you know, but I'm not going to get a chance to meet him. It's okay. And we're in the green room. I have my brother. He's got the wings off of his dragon, and just, he can't sit because of the tail. So he is like laying flat on his stomach across two chairs with the tail up and whatnot, and he's using the dragon's head as like a pillow. It was super, super cute. And into the green room comes John Rhys Davies, who's like trying to be really quiet because like they're all like saying stuff on stage, and he looks over at Bentley and he points at him and goes, "That's cool," like really quietly. I didn't need anything else that night. That was amazing.
Mercedes was a little starstruck.
I was so starstruck. I sit back there, I was like, oh, wonderful. I mean, he probably thought I was this kid's mom. I don't care.
That's amazing. Well, thank you again to Macy Roberts, as always, for the use of our theme song.
Yes, Macy! Woo!
David Jeffers for our always awesome editing. Tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods.
I'm building up more of a backlog of my Curse of Strahd game for Dungeons and Chill. I realized that I probably should, like, every now and again recite, like, what these shows are. Dungeons and Chill is a a real play. I am the tired.
Jeez.
Yeah, we go all out for Dungeons and Chill.
I was like, when did this happen?
Yeah. It is a real play Dungeons and Dragons adventure, meaning we actually play a game. It's not scripted. We let the dice tell the story, and everyone has a good time. That is on hiatus right now. But if you want to follow some of my other work, you can go to Comic Trades Monthly. That is a book club podcast focused on comic books. This next month, we are going to be reading Scott Pilgrim. And His Precious Little Life, Volume 1, because it's the 10-year anniversary of the movie coming out, and I am obsessed with that film.
Has it been that
so old? Oh my gosh.
If you have like an hour and a half to 2 hours, there is a table read where all of the original cast came back together to read the script, with the exception of a few people. Like even Chris Evans shows back up and does his bit.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, check it out. Totally worth it.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you guys. We love you. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
We love you guys.
Thank you.
What's my thing?
Thank you.
What's my thing?
Be the... I'm not going to steal it. Be the positive that you want to see in the world. I just screwed that up. Be the positivity that you want to see in the world. There, you stole my line earlier. I stole yours.
Yay!
Bye,
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.